I've said it pretty clearly that the Z-Packs Altaplex tent is my favorite tent, and that hasn't changed. But the longer I hike, the more I realize gear isn't about finding the perfect option. It's about using the right tool for the job. So as I look ahead into the 2026 hiking season, there are a few pieces of gear that I am testing for very specific conditions and reasons. So today is my first look and impression at the 2026 version of the Durston Gear X-Dome 1 Plus tent and why I'm considering this for my 2026 hiking adventures. Hey friends, welcome back to the channel and thank you for being with me today. Hey, today I am going to go over kind of my first impressions of the Durston Gear X-Dome 1 Plus tent. I want to explain a little bit about why this is a tent that I am testing out or considering for my 2026 hiking adventures, and also clarify that there is nothing wrong with the Altaplex. As of today, it is still my absolute favorite tent. This is not about replacing the Altaplex per se. When you love a piece of gear, whether it's a tent or anything else, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be right for every scenario and every situation. Depending on the trail that you're on, for a shelter in particular, you may have different decisions you've got to make based on exposure, based on potential weather, and other factors for that trail in particular. So today's discussion and little first impressions of the X-Dome is not about replacing the Altaplex, but maybe sharing some reasons why the X-Dome is in consideration for my adventures here in 2026. So the tent came in this morning and I am going to kind of set it up here with you and talk through some of the things that I'm noticing right off the bat and why I think this will be a tent for me to consider using in the hiking season here in 2026. Okay, so look, clearly this is coming in two pieces, both the tent inner and fly in one bag here, as well as the poles in the other. It does come with stakes, and it looks like as part of the 2026 updates, it does come with some extra guy out lines. So that's what this little pack is here. Looks like there are four stakes in here. Put those aside. And the tent poles. I did choose for the carbon, Easton Custom Carbon 3.9. I don't know what all those things necessarily mean, but that is what it says. So we will look at getting this all set up. Now, man, I know others have probably said this before, but these poles feel mighty flimsy. And I don't mean flimsy, I shouldn't say flimsy. I don't think that they are flimsy. They are just not very thick, and they're very lightweight, which is what you're looking for in an ultralight tent, obviously. So slide these over here a little bit. Now, one of the features that I'm really excited about with this tent is the ability to pitch fly first, especially when you've got conditions where rain may be the case or afternoon thunderstorms, which tend to happen at higher elevations, like kind of where I live here. If I'm up in the Uinta Mountains per se, those storms can come on you real quick and get some rain and get some hail. So being able to pitch the fly first is a big plus. If you've got to put that up and wait a storm out, to almost use it as a tarp. Just throw the fly in with it, sit under there while the storm passes, and you don't have to worry about anything. So that's one feature that I am excited about, or that is making me consider using this tent this year. So we'll move those other things aside really quick and look at the fly here. So I've identified the door, which I'm going to have face you. All right, so in this case, if you're going to pitch the fly first, you want the poles to obviously be on the outside of the tent. So we're going to lock these poles into the little metal loops here on the end. I have never done this before. This is the first time I have ever used or touched this tent. So from a true first impression standpoint, for somebody that's never touched it before, we'll see how it goes. I am loosening these up all the way here at the ends. You can see it's starting to take form. Now I understand on a windy day, you may want to stake out the ends before you do this, but it's a pretty nice day today. Except for the fact that it's into January and we have really had little to no snow here in Utah, which is not good. I know a lot of you probably dealing with some crazy snow on the East Coast. I hope you're all staying safe and the weather isn't getting you too bad. So attach the cross beams here, or the X portion of the X dome. And now we will clip this thing up. And you can see, I mean, I'm not sitting here moving terribly quickly, but it's clear that you could put this thing up pretty quickly if you needed to, in case of an emergency or storm, right? Again, I am just doing this for the first time. Haven't ever used this tent before, so we're learning as we go. Peak vents here. No mesh in them, I believe. Nope, just an opening, which is okay. That's why you got an inner with mesh, so if bugs are coming in. So, there we go. Fly first pitch. Did that in a couple of minutes here. And for somebody who's never used it before or tried it out, that's not too bad. With the door open, and folded back with the magnetic loops. You can see right into there. Not bad, huh? And then this side will also fold back. You can get it. So, not bad at all if you got to wait out a storm. This is plenty big for 2 people. I would even say you could probably fit 3 people in here in a pinch. I'm kind of sitting here in the middle, and I could easily fit over there, and I could easily fit over here to my left and right. So, yeah, storm comes in, pulling this thing out. Not too bad of an option to get under, to wait it out with gear. Maybe 2 people. Again, I think you could probably cram 3 in here with gear and be okay. No more than that is my initial guess. But let's start working on this inner and see what that looks like and how that goes in. Okay, so with the inner, obviously, this does not go in symmetrically based on how the X dome is set up. It's wider on this to my right, your left end, and it narrows down here. So when looking at the inner, I'm going to have to determine which side is which, and I think that's pretty easy to say. This is the narrow side. Here's the wide side. So from what I understand, best thing to do here is to, similar to the fly, is we'll attach the inner to the same pole structures on the corners here and then clip it up. So that's what I'll do here. Find these edges and come under here and just attach them onto the same pole. Three in. And now this side is a little different because of how narrow it is. Probably can't see it from where you are, but I can get a close up. This is just a piece that comes from the corner using some cordage to attach the little metal piece on here that goes into the pole. So because again, the corner doesn't come all the way to the edge here, it's just you use the metal piece here with the cordage on it. And we now have the inner attached to the four sides. Probably easiest to start from the back of the inner and work up based on the geometry of everything. So what we'll do. Now this is attached into the tent with the clips that Dan uses. You'll see them if you've got any of his backpacks. Sorry, that was loud. If you got any of his backpacks, you'll recognize these clips. A little part of me is nervous in here doing this, but I'm not. Looks like that goes up here. Voila, tent. It's all put together. All right, so hey, ease of setup. For a tent, honestly, like 8, 9 out of 10. Like this is a pretty intuitive setup. I didn't read the instructions, kind of wanted to see how I would do without the instructions and how simple it was for a novice or a beginner to set up the tent. Watched a couple videos on the tent, of course, but yeah, for the most part, even with the uniqueness of the fly first pitch and then having to clip the inner on in to the fly, easy peasy. Not too much of a challenge there whatsoever. So easy there. Love, again, the fly first pitch, that capability, whether you use it as a tarp or whether there may be rain and you got the inner attached to it. The capability is really nice. Now, question is, how many times does that really become a factor? And for somebody like me who typically uses a Dyneema trekking pole tent, I mean, it kind of can do the same thing, right? You just lay it out on the ground, throw your gear in it, and then use your trekking pole and your stakes to stake it out, and you're kind of getting the same functionality. So nice there, but let's look at the tent a little bit, and we'll keep going here. So the tent is obviously a fully freestanding tent. So I have nothing staked out right now, and it's standing up just fine. You saw earlier I had the doors down, zipped down when I put up the fly. So technically you can even have the full fly set up without needing any stakes whatsoever. Probably not recommended, especially in maybe more windy or challenging conditions. But I guess the benefit of it, at least at the beginning, is if you find this ground is not great for you, you can pick it up and move the entire tent. Also, in the morning, if you need to shake it out, get stuff out of the inside of your tent. I mean, this thing weighs nothing. It feels like it's floating away. So another nice feature there, I guess, is the fully freestanding nature. That's probably why a lot of us have looked at this or purchased it. That fully freestanding nature of this tent makes it awfully nice and convenient to move around if that's needed. So one of the other things I really think about this tent that's first impressions is just the height. I'm sitting on the ground. I'm 6 foot tall, and there's plenty of room in here. Even if I was sitting on my pad, I brought a pad in here just to kind of show. This is a 25-inch wide Thermarest NeoAir X-Lite NXT Max sleeping pad, and fits fine even on the end that tapers. Also, both the doors, the fly doors go back with magnetic clips, as well as the tent inner doors have their own little magnetic clips. So again, you can make this thing really open. And if you really wanted to, sitting back here inside the tent, you know, there's a lot of room here to cook, to watch a sunset, watch a sunrise. Really great. The other thing I really, really like about this is how the door is set up into like a T. So this one comes across. It's got a black string here. This one's got a white string that comes down. And then this one is in a green string that comes across from the left, my left. So that's helpful to know which one you're grabbing at by the color. But again, if you're trying to get a hold of something that you leave outside your tent, super convenient here to just undo one of the sides, grab your water, grab whatever you might need, close it up. Or if your pack's over here and you need to grab something out of your pack, pretty easy to do so. Or your shoes, getting ready. Or of course, you know, then there's just your easy top to say hello. But this will definitely be an improvement in my mind, getting in and out of this tent from the Altaplex, where I kind of have to shimmy my way butt first out of it and figure out how to get out. So again, first impression here, this door system I think works really well, and I'm impressed with this. Okay, so why the Durston X-Dome 1 Plus, at least from my reasoning, why I'm considering this for 2026. And a lot of it just has to do with the storm, you know, worthiness, the fly first pitch, and being able to hunker down if needed. If my plans go as I would like them to for 2026, the trail I'm considering has multiple portions of it above tree line for potentially multiple days in a row. And at that elevation and in that location, afternoon storms are pretty dang common. So the ability to hunker down, if that's necessary, above tree line in a freestanding tent with poles, using this potentially as a tarp setup. And if you got to call it early, you got to call it early, and you got a nice tent here. Those are some of the considerations. So really a lot of it's around the weather and the exposure that I would be anticipating. And the ability to set this up really quickly, the flexibility of the tent is something that's really appealing to me. So those are some things I think this tent can solve for in my particular use case. Again, as a tool using it for the right job, I think this is a tent that can really help me out, or at least give me the confidence in some of those conditions that I may be facing. Some areas where I feel like I may be unsure, however, though, the common hiker term, packing your fears with you. Is this something that I really need to pack, or is this a fear of mine? Therefore, I'm packing this. Does my Altaplex work just fine in the same conditions? I think that answer is yes, to be honest. I think there have been many people that have hiked this trail in Dyneema tents and trekking pole tents, and so is something like this actually needed? I don't know. So the downside there is obviously the weight. If I'm packing my fears, this comes with a bit of a weight penalty. My scale had this at 2 pounds 7 ounces, which is 3 or 4 more ounces, I think, than the 35 ounces that Dan puts on the website as the weight of the entire tent. So that was with everything. So that does include the stakes, that does include the extra guy line wire and the sack there. All of that came into 2 pounds 7 ounces on my scale. I can show you what that looks like here. So that is definitely a trade-off with this tent. But honestly, I think that's really the only trade-off I can think of. Again, initial impressions is I have not used this at all. But benefits of it, I think, again, stormworthiness, and for those potential use cases, it's great. I think it's a little more comfortable just in terms of having a little bit more space, being able to functionally do a little bit more in this area. And getting in and out of the tent will be a little nicer than what I'm accustomed to. That doesn't bother me with the Altaplex, but this will just be a nice addition or a nice upgrade to that. So I am going to be testing this out through the probably through the maybe through the winter, the late winter, early through springtime and early summer of 2026 to see if this is what's going to be in my bag as we move into the hiking season and the adventure that I'm planning on. There's a couple other pieces of gear that I'm testing out. One we talked about already with the Norda 001A trail runner shoes, the tent being another piece, and there's probably at least another one or two that I will be testing through the springtime or so to see if that's what's going to ultimately find its way into my kit as I plan for this adventure, this trip in 2026. So I'm purposely being vague about my plans for 2026 because nothing is set in stone yet. I do have a full-time job. I also have a family. And so there's some things there that may factor in that won't allow me to do what I want to do. What's my plan A? But so I'm not really committing to what that is yet. But when I get more fidelity that it's going to happen or not happen, then I will communicate that with y'all. And if you want, comment below what you think I'm planning for 2026. If you want to take a guess, that might be fun. But I will be testing this through the spring and early summer, testing the functionality of it. If I care about the weight, a couple of questions I do have really is about how I'm going to carry this thing, especially if there is wet weather, humidity, rain, whatever it might be. How is the best way? I'm new to double wall tents. So what is the best way to carry a wet fly where the inner can be detached and carried separately? If you have experience, whether it's with this X-Dome or something similar, how do you pack the tent? My poles I'll probably keep separate from the tent here. And so maybe that means I need two stuff sacks, one for the fly in particular and one for the inner. But would be curious what your recommendations are. If any of you use a double wall tent with a fly, how do you pack that? How do you think about that in particular if weather is a factor or humidity makes it all wet? So friends, thanks for being here. Again, this is just the early look at the Durston X-Dome 1 Plus. I have not used this at all, and this is the first time I've ever set it up. So you're seeing me in the raw doing this. But we'll continue to test this with some other pieces of gear that I'm planning on for next year. But as we move further into the season, both with the shoes and with the tent, I will let you know how things are going, what's working, what maybe not be working, and kind of what my thought process and my decision-making process is looking like as we get closer toward the summer. And with that, friends, again, I appreciate you being here with me today. Please leave a comment, like, and subscribe if any of this has been helpful to you. I hope it has been. I hope it continues to be. That is my goal, is to be a resource to help you all as I'm learning new things myself. So come along for the ride if that's of interest to you. If you would like to see the shoes that I'll be testing out this year, one's made out of Dyneema, believe it or not. I will link that video right here. And with that, friends, I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.